This map shows the Strait of Hormuz, a geographical bottleneck where vital global sea lanes are squeezed between the coastlines of Iran, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. If the United States and allied nations send warships to force their way through these narrow waters in a future conflict, the tactical nightmare they face will closely mirror the bloody naval invasion of Okinawa in 1945. Look closely at the geopolitical situation of Japan in the mid-1940s and modern Iran. Both nations structured their military doctrines around fighting for their absolute survival against an adversary possessing overwhelming conventional superiority. That desperate strategic reality breeds a doctrine of martyrdom. When a military knows it cannot win a traditional shootout, it alters its tactics, designing weapons specifically meant to be destroyed alongside their operators. 80 years apart, the grim mathematics of asymmetric warfare hold true. A vastly inferior force can inflict massive casualties by deploying swarms of cheap, expendable weapons to exhaust the advanced defenses of a high-tech fleet. To understand how this works in the air, we start with the original Kamikaze units. In the spring of 1945, the Japanese military loaded ordinary fighter planes with high explosives and gave their pilots only enough fuel for a one-way flight. The pilots rarely attacked individually. They organized into massive waves designed to flood the airspace, forcing American and British gunners to track and shoot down dozens of targets simultaneously, until their ammunition and focus were completely exhausted. By 2026, the Iranian military will execute that exact same concept using the Shahed drone. It is a bomb-armed, uncrewed aircraft built specifically to be fired in large swarms on one-way suicide missions. Japan eventually evolved their strategy by developing the Oka rocket bomb. Its small footprint and incredibly high-speed profile made it extremely difficult for Allied gunners to spot and intercept before impact. This diagram illustrates the harsh economic reality of intercepting a modern swarm. The U.S. Navy must expend massive numbers of multi-million-dollar defensive missiles just to stop a barrage of incoming drones that cost only a few $1,000s each to build. The law of averages dictates the outcome. If you launch enough cheap weapons at a ship, the defense network will eventually saturate, and a percentage of the swarm will break through to strike the hull. Down on the water surface, the Imperial Japanese Navy deployed Shinyo motorboats. These were small, agile surface craft packed with explosives in the bow, piloted directly into the side of a warship to detonate on impact. To ensure these fleets could survive aerial bombardment before an attack, the Japanese stockpiled the Shinyo boats inside extensive, deeply excavated cave networks right on the coastline. Today, Iran maintains a vast fleet of uncrewed drone speedboats, operating in tight formation and housed inside their own massive fortified subterranean facilities carved into the mountains along the strait. Many of these Iranian vessels are licensed iterations of North Korean attack boats, capable of reaching 30 knots while carrying 600 pounds of high explosives directly into the path of an oncoming vessel. Out in the deep ocean, a speedboat is a minor nuisance, but inside the shallow, geographically constrained waters of the Persian Gulf, a swarm of hundreds of explosive-laden boats operates like a highly mobile, actively hunting minefield. The threat extends beneath the waves. During the Battle of Okinawa, the Japanese launched Kaiten submarines. These were effectively Type 93 long lance torpedoes, advanced, oxygen-fueled weapons with a 24-mile range, modified with a small cockpit so a pilot could steer the 1,000-pound warhead directly into a target. Iran's modern answer is the Ghadir-class midget submarine. At just 95 feet in length and displacing only 125 tons, it is specifically optimized to navigate and hide within the shallow, noisy environment of the Persian Gulf. From its 2 torpedo tubes, the Ghadir can fire the Hoot. This is a supercavitating torpedo, a weapon that vaporizes the water ahead of it to create a friction-reducing gas bubble, allowing it to travel submerged at an astonishing 220 miles per hour. The lethality of these small, stealthy platforms is well documented. In March 2010, a North Korean submarine of very similar design successfully ambushed and sank this vessel, the ROKS Chonin, a heavily armed South Korean corvette, or light warship. By deploying dozens of these midget submarines simultaneously, Iran creates a dense anti-access area denial, or A2AD, trap. This strategy uses layered defensive systems to physically prevent an enemy from entering a specific region, completely neutralizing the long-range advantages of a traditional deep-water navy. Between April and June 1945, Japan launched 1,465 kamikaze aircraft at the Allied fleet. Despite the concentrated anti-aircraft fire, exactly 15% pierced the defensive perimeter. That 15% penetration resulted in 3,000 Allied sailors killed, 368 vessels damaged, and 36 ships sunk. If an armada enters the Strait of Hormuz in 2026, the threat extends far beyond drones and speedboats. The Iranian military will compound the swarm by simultaneously firing volleys of advanced land-based anti-ship missiles directly from the coastal mountains. They will back up those coastal batteries by launching heavy ballistic missiles, weapons that exit the atmosphere and fall back to Earth at hypersonic speeds, striking the fleet from a high-altitude trajectory. In 1945, an industrial nation fighting for its survival inflicted thousands of casualties using rigged prop planes and explosive motorboats. Facing a modern adversary armed with hypersonic missiles, supercavitating torpedoes, and mechanized drone swarms, any attempt by the U.S. Navy to force the Strait of Hormuz will demand an unimaginable toll in blood and steel.